All right, the scouts of the week offensively was the scout of the week was Brady Breeze. Defensively was Stephen Maines, and special teams was Jelante Walker.
Apelu was a guy that you had mentioned before that he just kind of outworks a lot of people. What about his skill set, I guess, has evolved, and it seemed like he was in there quite a bit, made a lot of plays.
Yeah, I think the two things he has going for him is just his heart, just his desire, as far as a guy that's probably a little undersized compared to a lot of other people, but just he's a relentless kid to the ball. Had a couple times where we need to finish tackles, and he kind of gets a little out of his biggest strength is also probably his biggest weakness at times in terms of trying to do too much or overshoot things. But he did a lot more good than bad, for sure.
Justin Herbert 6 touchdowns is pretty exciting, but do you feel like, not in a negative way, but he could have done even more if he hit a couple more passes, and that's maybe what makes his potential so good and so high is because he played a good game, but almost could have had even a better game?
Definitely, and he had a couple kind of head knockers as far as when he'll watch it on film and number one's wide open moments where he's kind of hoping that number 3 or 4 is going to be the guy that comes free and something that he'll correct immediately. But yeah, his future is very, very bright.
Chris, what was it about Tony Brooks-James' skill set to get him more carries compared to Royce Freeman that you wanted to go with Tony Brooks-James over Royce?
Well, he's been, all those guys have been very limited in practice over the past couple of weeks. All the tailbacks. Tony has been the guy that has just refused to come out. And you saw the kickoff return where we're yelling at him about his ball security, and at that point he can't really feel his left arm. That kind of a moment where just again a great teammate, a guy that refuses to come out. Not that those other guys aren't, don't get me wrong, but he's been very productive. There were also some things probably by also every back where could have been more, just of Preston there fitting the run scheme better. That again is very correctable.
Seemed like Ugo was in quite a bit more and for airing on in the second half. Was that health or was that performance related?
Well, we the good news, bad news of those type of situations. We had 101 mental errors in our previous game, and we had 31 in the last game. Unfortunately, 5 of those resulted in scoring plays. So when 5 guys have 1 mental error out of whatever that is, 55, right? Pretty good math. That hurts you. And there were some coverage things in there that we had called perfectly. And again, it's not one guy that we're singling out as being that one guy, but certainly was a big time a big time problem in 3 of those plays.
Similar to Matt, it seemed like Malik Lovett has sort of gotten in and gotten involved a lot more. How much has he progressed since, I remember last year, moving from the offense to the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, he's gone through that progression kind of as a guy goes to the other side, whether it's a defensive player coming to the offense goes to defense. Usually initially they're really good. They're playing freely. They're just doing what they've kind of always done, be athletic, and that's where you try to keep them and then add to their repertoire. But then they also sometimes will run into a wall of, okay, now I'm trying to do, be the perfect technician in a good way, be a perfect technician, maybe start to think too much about things. And so I think he went through that, and he's starting to play faster, and just has to do with confidence and experience.
Chris?
After getting a chance to watch film, you had some big touchdown runs called back, but didn't necessarily have your best rushing day on offense. How would you assess the performance of the offensive line?
Okay. A few of those issues were certainly technique related. Had one of those penalties that is a tough one. The one on Taj's long run situation where the defender's coming to cut him and kind of just reacts. It's tough one. But sometimes it was the offensive line. Sometimes we had communication issues with either the receivers or the tight ends if they were removed from the front. We just we didn't have our best night of communication up front, and that hurt us at times in the run game.
Joey? tight ends were a big part of the passing game, particularly with touchdowns. Was that more matchup based and Justin Herbert just found them, or have those guys kind of, I guess, come into their own the last week or so?
I think both of those things. We've had some issues just health wise at receiver, and getting the development of Pharaoh, of Johnny, of Evan, and also Jake. Those guys. There's more depth there right now. Hopefully that will change as we go forward. We'll see. But yeah, then also part of it just how they play defensively. We thought those guys had a chance to have a good night.
Chris?
You iced Cal's kicker and it worked out. But what's your philosophy on icing the kicker? Do you do it differently on different games? Some coaches don't
Like
believe
roulette.
in it. Yeah.
Roulette.
Andrew, you have anything?
Yeah, the last couple of years, Mark, you've had the kind of luxury to play a lot of veteran quarterbacks, and even this year at Dakota, those guys obviously know how to learn from the struggles. With a guy like Justin, this is obviously his only second career start. How has he been bouncing back Saturday and Sunday from, again, a promising game, but the interception at the end? How have you seen him process the last couple of days?
Well, I think the biggest thing with Justin is he's kind of, again, maybe his biggest strength and his biggest weakness is he's extremely hard on himself. He's a very competitive, highly competitive guy, and an extreme perfectionist, which is great, but it can also be a liability at some points. And so that's where you just have to keep talking to him, and the team is couldn't be more behind him, in terms of their support for him and how hard he takes it and took it, but at the same time you've got to flush that and attack the next play with a great frame of mind, and he will. I'm very excited again about his short-term and long-term development.
When you look at that last play, the interception ended, were you happy with his decision on just poor execution of just where he threw the ball? But was that the right place to go? What was your impression of the review of that?
Well, yeah, that was one of those things. We kind of had a couple similar schemes that were big plays earlier in the game. Charles' touchdown, Jalen's touchdown, and then another big play were similar schematically. And so I think he kind of predetermined that he was going to go to that side. And, there was another route that was in the progression, and the first guy was open. So, that's one of those things where you're again kind of hoping for what's going to happen rather than attacking and reacting to what you see. And he'll, again, we'd run the same exact play over again, and I would trust him to execute it if we did it tomorrow.
One more for me is just the last time you guys picked off a pass or recovered a fumble was the third quarter against Colorado. I'm sure if you knew how to force turnovers, you guys would already be doing that by now with the scheme and the talent development. But how concerning is that, and how can you guys turn that around?
A combination of things, going back to one of the previous questions, just about we had a red zone cover call, knowing what route was coming, and if we execute that, Matt Preem would have caught the interception, and we know his skill level. And then, we had a couple of the balls hit us right in the face. We made some coverage adjustments as the game went on that we executed better, and we had a couple chances to make that. But that's a byproduct, again, of fitting routes, getting more confidence in various coverages and seeing those things over and over again. It's going to happen, and then obviously that's got to come with pressure on the quarterback as well.
I have one pick six in my high school career.
I believe it.
Back to Justin, you kind of touched on it. Are you seeing on Tuesday? You said void of leadership, and you need some more guys to step up, or as coaches, you having to do that. Are you seeing maybe that this game reflect that for Justin as a rallying for this team around him of a base of a leader or something around those lines?
Maybe. I think again he's like a lot of these guys, particularly a lot of the young guys on defenses. You go from trying to survive on your own to thrive together, and that's where the tight red zone where we had a couple communication busts with the other mental errors that we were talking about that led to scores. It's literally two guys that are 6 feet away from each other communicating that, that's my guy, and that's something that you see on NFL Sunday, whatever, it'll happen. It's just one of those things that in the heat of the moment, you have to fall back on what you've done. But as far as how he'll react and how we see him in the future and how his team will play for him, expect nothing but the best.
Chris?
Darren Carrington has 5 targets and 1 catch against Cal. Hasn't had a 100-yard game now in a while. Is there something with maybe improving the chemistry with Justin Herbert to get him going once again? Obviously, he threw 6 touchdown passes, but is there maybe an effort to get him going more downfield?
Well, yeah, I mean, we hit him once and overthrew him once on one scheme where we thought we had a chance to get him the ball, and so there's sometimes the coverage dictates that you're somewhere else, but we're not scheming ways to not get him the ball. Let's put it that way.
Anything else?